Hello there, I'm Jimmy Vegas and this is how to create a hyper-casual game in Unity, and welcome to episode 15. In this tutorial we are going to create the script which will allow us to randomly generate each section pretty much infinitely. Don't forget, click the subscribe button and click the bell icon as well to stay up to date with every tutorial still to come in this series and everything else on game development on my channel. With that in mind, let's get to work. So, up until now we've basically just created a couple of different ledges with some textures, materials, and it looks okay. The key to all of this hyper-casual game that we're creating here, this version of it, is the random generation. And I think that's what's going to make it replayable. Maybe not necessarily infinite replayable, I guess it depends how good you are. But we want to be able to create a new level each and every time you play. So for example, if we create 10 different sections, so we create one here, 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 and so on, we're going to have just hundreds of different variations of that, because the first section could be one of 7, the second section could be another one of 7, so there already you've got 49 different possibilities just creating 2 sections. So upscaling that to 10, you've got thousands of possibilities there. So creating a script to randomly generate sections isn't as complicated as what you would think, as long as you do it methodically. So let's go to our scripts folder and we'll go into our general folder. Now I'm thinking here we should actually create the script, although we may move it out of general, but for now, because it is a general script, we're going to have it here. So right click, create C# script, and we'll call this we'll call it ledge generate. So, thinking about this logically, we're going to have 7 variables for the ledges. We're going to have a variable for the position of where we're going to generate the ledge. And then we're also going to need a variable to keep count of how many we've done. So we can actually use an array for all the ledges that we have. So we don't need to have 7 different variables here. And we can also just use one variable for the random generation, one variable for the position. So let's get to work with this. Firstly, let's have public game object and square brackets because it is an array. And we're going to have just ledge. Next, let's have public int, and this is going to be ledge num. And next one is going to be public int, and this is going to be ledge pos semicolon. So the ledge number is going to be the amount we've generated, and the ledge pos is going to be the position on the Z or Z axis. Because if we look at the moment, these current positions, if we look here, Z or Z is 0, and they go backwards, these ones, but the one we're most concerned about, or rather from the most one we're concerned about, is here. So this one is 1, the next one is 2, the next one is 3, so the first randomly generated one is going to be 4. Therefore, we have to make the ledge pos equals 4 by default. So we're going to actually create a ledge let's say every second for now, and then obviously when we get the character in or player object in, we can probably change how quickly or how slowly the generate. So I'm going to get rid of the annotations. I'm not entirely sure if we're going to need to start an update, but what we are going to start with is a coroutine. So enumerator, and we'll call this generate ledge. And as I'm doing this, I've realized we probably are going to need a bool to say we are creating a ledge. So public bool creating ledge. By default we'll make that false. So first things first, what we're going to do is we are going to, in the update method, we will say if, and it's going to be creating ledge equals false. Remember, it's double equals. Then we do the following. So we've got that in place. And what we do want to do is basically do that coroutine. So let's say start coroutine, and the name of the coroutine we've done, which is generate ledge. Close bracket, semicolon. So now that does bring us down here, and I think we can get rid of void start now I think about it. So how do we do this? Well, firstly, we're going to have to randomly generate a number for ledge num. So let's say ledge num equals random dot range, and in brackets 0 and 7. Remember I explained the reason why we do one above the actual number we're trying to generate? It's just one of those quirks of Unity. So we need to generate either 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 or 6. So that means that we can then assign that ledge number to here. Now ledge 0 is always going to be important to us because we're always going to have to generate one of them as well as the randomly generated one. And there is the possibility of generating a couple of zeros one after the other, but that's completely fine. So next thing we need to do is basically instantiate. And if we go back to orb generate, and remember we wrote this instantiate line, well, we're going to copy that line of code because why write it all out again when it already exists? And that means when we've generated the number, we're going to instantiate, or well, instead of orb fall, it's going to be ledge, and instead of orb call, it's going to be ledge num. So we've generated that ledge number, whatever we've randomly generated here, and we're going to put it in this position, which is going to be 0, 0, and then it's going to be ledge pos. So ledge pos, because we're doing it on the Z or Z. We can see that over here. So 0, 0, and then it's going to be a dynamic number that we're going to add to each and every time. So that means after we've added one, we now need to add one to that ledge pos. So ledge pos plus equals 1. So now it becomes 5. So the next one we generate is going to be at position 5. And we're going to have to generate. So we're going to take that line of code again, place it there, and this is going to be 0. Because like I said, I always want to have every other one to be just the blank ledge, just so as we don't end up with a situation like this where it's impossible to get past. There'll always be a way to get past at this present moment. So now we've done that, what we need to do is wait for a second. So yield return new, wait for seconds, and like I said, we'll do it for 1 second just for now, just for testing purposes. And then after that, we will say creating ledge equals false. And obviously, to do that, back in this creating ledge section up here in the update method, we need to actually say creating ledge is equal to true, because that's what we currently are doing. So let's save that script. So we're not quite done with this just yet. We need to head back into Unity and let's add a game object, empty, and this one is going to be our global scripts again. So global scripts, and let's drag and drop that ledge generate onto there. Let's set the ledge as a size of 7, and then ledge 0, and then 1, and 2, 3. I don't really need to read these numbers out, do I? We all know what they are. So basically, as long as they all align with each other, so element 0 is ledge 0. That's the main one, I think, more than anything here. And element 6, obviously ledge 6. So I am going to save this scene. And let's save it in our scenes folder. And the original scene that we had was just called sample scene. So now I'm going to call this... Okay, let's think of a good name for this game right now. What about... Cube Avoid 3D. Cube Avoid 3D. So hopefully now, if we press play, I'm going to mainly take... We're not going to see anything in the game view. It's the scene view that we're going to see everything here. We should be able to see the level generate. There we go. So we can see exactly how this is working. Okay, so yeah, one extra thing I've noticed there. We also need to add another 1 after we've generated that ledge, because as you saw there, that became impossible. And obviously you can see here, this is why we have to check this random generation, test it, much the same with any other game that we create, because we end up with little bugs like that. So just adding that extra line of code now means that we'll be able to randomly generate as intended. There we go. So that will just keep going and going and going and going and going. So it's looking pretty easy, this level so far. So far, so good. See what I mean? We have a large section there where it's generated 0 a couple of times. I guess that just gives you a little bit extra leeway to kind of, get yourself focused. It's looking quite easy here. But you can see ultimately how this level is randomly generating itself. And if we were to, let's say, move the camera, so let's move the camera along, we can see in the game panel how this is going to work. Perfect. So it will just keep going and going and going and going and going and going. And we can see, there we go, it's generating there. But the camera will never be able to see it generating. It's always going to be just slightly ahead of the character that is playing the game. So last thing I want to do is I'm just going to add a quick skybox to it to give it a little something extra. So remember, it's window, rendering, light settings, and then we can change the skybox to whatever you want it to be. I'm going to go with that one. And I'm going to save my scene once again. Now, I guess it's entirely up to you whether you want to rotate the skybox again on this. I mean, if we press play, it's just going to be pretty static in terms of how it looks. See what I mean? So if you want to rotate the skybox, just attach that to the global scripts. You can see, there we go, skybox rotate. And that doesn't look too bad at all. I'm quite happy with how that looks at the moment. So obviously, we're going to be going along, avoiding these objects, all good. So there we go. That is how we're going to randomly generate the rest of this hypercasual game. So next tutorial, what I want to get in here is I want to get a character, maybe whether it's a sphere or an actual character from the asset store. I'm not 100% sure yet, but I want to get them in there and get them moving. Then from there, we're going to create the options to move from side to side. Yeah, and we'll go from there. So until the next tutorial, guys, thank you very much for watching.